Well, welcome to About the Valley. My guest tonight is Senator Mike Moore, who covers half of Northbridge,
Yes.
precinct 2 and 4, which
Correct.
is my precinct actually. I'm in precinct 4,
Oh, great. Very good.
and we're in precinct 2.
At this, well, I was going to say at the recently, but it's really not recently renovated studio. But
Yeah,
how long ago was it? About 2 years ago?
2013.
Oh, 5 years ago.
5 years. Time flies.
It does.
We're halfway through our contract with Charter, 10-year contract. It just flies by.
Yeah,
But-
I was just talking to someone yesterday about something else going on that it's been like 15 years since the contract went through, what the issue actually took place, and it feels like just like yesterday.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, the older you get, the faster time goes by.
My parents used to say that, and I'd laugh. But,
Yeah.
but it's so true.
When you're back in your teen years, especially in high school, it's, oh, and I got another year before I get out of here, and
Yeah, it just drags day
Yeah.
after day.
and it's September seems like, oh my God, June's so far away, and then you get older, and wow. But of course, right now, I wish the hell April would finish up
Oh.
because it's been a horrible month.
Whenever I left the house this morning and it was snowing, I was in total disbelief. I can't believe it.
But they mentioned today, in 1977, they had a half an inch of snow in Boston.
In April?
May.
Oh, okay.
May of '77 was, and I know it quite well because I always lived in Northbridge, but I was working up in the Fitchburg area, driving up there, and I remember on Route 32, trees were coming down.
Oh, because they had the leaves
Yeah,
plus the
the
way
leaves
the
were
snow.
already out.
Yeah.
It was the second week in May.
It was actually, Rep Meridian and I were just at a thank you event for the volunteers for the Grafton seniors this morning, and we were just trying to figure out what the latest date was.
Yeah,
for
that's the latest
snowfall.
I can. I think that's the latest that they got on record.
Okay.
Was May 7th, I think it was. It was the end of the first week of May, and it was a heavy snow, heavy wet snow, so tree limbs came down. We're on Route 32, and all of a sudden the traffic stops, and a guy comes walking by, and he said, "You can't go through. There's a big limb across the road." I said, "Well, we'll back up and go out." "No, you can't go that way. There's a tree over there." We had to wait for Mass Highway to come by and cut the tree limbs so we could get out.
Do we have a phone call?
He'll be taking care.
Oh, okay.
But well, wait a minute.
Was the weather bad consistently up until then, or was it with decent weather and then it just?
I can't remember. I think it was cold right up until then, like it is right now.
Wow.
Then I remember another time in the '80s where we had this constant overcast and cold, drizzly weather, and was in the end of May, beginning of June, and it was only hanging out in the eastern part of Massachusetts. If you went out to western Mass,
It was nice and sunny.
yeah, you could actually see the cloud bank.
Well, I remember after what was the volcano that erupted?
You know, Mount St. Helens.
When that following
Yeah,
2 summers, I think it
Yeah.
was. They said the cloud cover.
we do
Oh,
have
it
a
does.
phone call. Let me get this. It's quick. Go ahead, Carl. You're on. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, Barry.
I'd like to start off thanking NCTV and you, Harry, and the excellent staff there for the excellent show tonight.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to thank Mike and his staff for the holiday dinners that he does at all the senior centers throughout his district, and
Thank you.
any extra additional state funding for the senior Meal on Wheels would be greatly appreciated, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of the senior senators, directors have weighed in. And actually, I see my director almost every morning at a little local coffee shop on the way to work, and she's been advocating for it. So we're hoping to try to get it above what the governor has proposed.
Well, that'd be excellent, Mike.
So we're going to try. The House right now is they've proposed their budget. They're debating theirs next week. So we'll have to see where they go with it. But hopefully, usually the governor's numbers, just because of the way the timing falls with the budget, as you know, we've got more financial information as far as revenues coming in.
Right.
That hopefully we'll be able to go a little higher. But thanks for
Yeah,
calling on that.
revenues are looking pretty good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would like to discuss is, of course, the Chapter 70 and Chapter 90 funding. And I know at the Board of Selectmen's meeting the other night, I know the House said $30 per student, and I know you were cautiously optimistic that on the Senate side you might be able to bring that up a little. I was just wondering if there's been any additional movement on that for the reimbursement per pupil per student.
No, not we won't see something until after. We'll start getting a feel from Senate Ways and Means after the House completes their budget debate. Because don't forget that what they propose right now is just the Ways and Means numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That number still has to go to the House floor for debate. So you could see that go, I was going to say up or down, but unrealistically, you never see it go down. But hopefully you could see that go a little higher. So we won't really start to get a hard number until we start looking at to see what the House finally has for a final number.
Okay, I mean, being cautiously optimistic, could we kind of look at $50 per pupil, or do you think that might be too high?
Listen, I think
I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think at the selectmen's meeting, every year I file $100, and I think it was 3 years ago that we got 55, and then immediately after the next year it dropped back down to 30.
Yeah.
So if we can get 30 or above,
whatever
I'd be
you can
happy.
do for the reimbursement, I guess it would be most definitely appreciated.
Yeah, no, listen, that's one thing that with all that's expected upon our schools, any additional revenue that we can bring back to the cities and towns, as far as their school budget, their Chapter 90, I think it's only a bonus for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now, do you know if this year the state's going to do the pothole funding? Usually they give a 70 to 80,000 for pothole funding. I don't know if if it's in the state budget this year.
Oh, I'll have to say, in all honesty, I haven't checked at that. I haven't looked at that.
There was some more extra money coming in. I forgot what it was.
Well, we just did the two. We just did the Chapter 90.
Yeah.
So the House and Senate has both passed that.
Right.
So, but I'll have to look at the pothole.
There was an increase,
in the chapter
in the Chapter 90.
Yes, there was.
pretty substantial for Northbridge. I think it was, I forget what the heck it was, 50,000 or was it?
Well, actually, I got it.
Right, because it's
It was a good
gentlemen
amount.
know, it's been a hard winter on the road, so
$500,000,
whatever,
I think.
Yes.
anything additional extra will be appreciative.
See, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to try to come into the 20.
I think it was
First
$500,000
century here?
for Northbridge.
The Chapter 90 money for Northbridge.
Smartphones are great.
Yeah, was well, what the proposed number is for 2019 is $470,590.
Yeah, almost $500,000.
Yeah.
Which,
That'll definitely help out with the roads.
oh, absolutely. I mean, anything helps out.
Right.
No, that's one thing is you pointed out that we have to deal with that other parts of the country doesn't. This
Right.
is primarily New England states. It's the weather.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The weather's a big problem here, and this winter has been a
Right.
double problem.
Yeah.
We've had-
Actually, there's actually one piece of legislation I have that I'm working with that might help with some of the costs. We're looking at doing some pilot programs with the concrete industry, actually having at rotaries or intersections where you see a lot of the erosion on the pavement, the asphalt.
Yeah.
Right.
Some states actually have a better program where they will put the concrete just in those areas, and there's less wear and tear on it. It lasts longer. Some of the upfront costs might be a little higher, but you don't have the yearly maintenance.
Right.
Well,
Because,
they used to do the highways in concrete.
Right, because
Yes.
I mean, we're spread thin on manpower in our highway division, so any extra innovative things would definitely help.
Oh, and that's the sad part about, I guess, where we are today is everything's so expensive. We really have to try to find new ways to give the cities and towns more options or leeway in how they can accomplish their objectives or their projects.
Crude oil going up in price.
Right. I saw that on the news today, Harry. I guess buckle up with the gas prices.
But not just the gas prices. That means that asphalt prices are going to go up.
Right. I mean, everything will be affected that has the oil product.
Yeah, everything, then everything's transported.
Huh?
Right, plus
What was
everything
it?
has to be transported,
Yeah, it's,
so your transport costs go up.
Right, it'll be passed on.
what's it, plane, trains, and automobiles?
Right,
Yeah,
And
so,
just another thing
sure.
I'd like to touch on is on the education. I think under the education reform, and what I've always had a hard time grasping, Mike, is that when a school's at a level 3, if they receive some additional state funding with some oversight and goals and agenda, it would and prevent it from going to a level 4 or level 5, because as you know, when the school goes to a level 4 or level 5, the floodgates of state funding come in, and along with the state paying for a receivership, and maybe if the state was proactive and supplied a little additional funding when the school was at a level 3, it may deter it slipping into a 4 or a 5. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, or do you think there's any ever chance to look at that?
Oh, there's always a chance to look at it. If you have any suggestions on how we could better bring the state involvement in at a level 3,
Right.
because as you know, in a level 4 or 5 at that level, collective bargaining agreements, the complete administration and operation of that school is completely, I don't want to say null and void, but the state's able to come in and do massive reforms or
Right,
reorganizations.
and it's an extreme cost to the state.
Yes, it is.
And that's why I was thinking if a school was at a level 3 and they said, they came up with a plan working with the state, that institutionalized school district, and they came up with a plan working with the state to help keep it out of that level 4 and 5 area. It seems to me the state would save money from it not going into a 4 or a 5 if they gave it a little additional extra funds when it was a level 3.
I would be very surprised, but I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. If a school district was at a level 3, if they came to the state DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, if they came to them with
A solid plan.
a solid plan to rectify the issues that help bring them back down to a 2 or 1, I'd be surprised if the state didn't work with them on trying to implement that or give them the funding. Now, obviously,
I mean, that'd be interesting to find out.
yeah, if that does happen, I think any state rep or state senator would be more than willing to go fight DESE on that.
Right.
Yeah, the thing is, Barry, the reason they go to level 5 is because there's a big problem.
Right.
And maybe you need to have the state come in and rectify the situation.
Before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm saying that they have to come in because it's reached that point and there's no way of straightening it out unless you come in and renegotiate everything.
Right. No, but what I'm trying to say,
expenses.
actually, the school is at a level 3, and what I'm trying to say is being proactive, and if it takes a little bit of additional state funding while they're at a level 3 to keep it out of 4 and 5, it would definitely save the state a lot of money because, as Mike said, once it goes into 4 and 5, you're talking a significant amount of state revenues coming in. You're talking a receivership and basically the state taking over that school system. And, maybe that's true. Maybe, school districts already have that ability if they're at a level 3 to get additional state funding. But I'm not, I just was just throwing that thought out.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea, and again, I think it's really.
Well, you don't want to set them up for it either. You don't want to make it, hey, let's go to level
No,
3.
I'm sure there has to be standards by the Department of
funding.
No, but the
Education.
level 3 all ties into your MCAS scores,
Right.
And so, if any city or town, if there's, when I say school districts, that's their public school system. If that district superintendent came forward, or the city or town school committee came forward with a solid plan on trying to stop that, I'm pretty sure that I feel confident that the state would actually.
They would come out
I
with
mean,
it
it actually
would
makes
fund it
good
somehow.
sense.
Yeah, I think the state DSE would be willing to work with them. And again, now it's always going to be also to what the plan is.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It has to be something conferenced out between the Department of Education and that local school district, and to make sure that, like you said, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
And my last question, I'm glad you're being patient with me. As you know, there's a gentleman from this town that is spearheading the the Liberty Bell replica for the for the public to see that up at
Yes.
the.
We were gonna discuss that. I'm glad you
And,
brought it
and
up.
I was just wondering, has there been any type of positive movement on that? And in closing, I'll let you answer. And I just want to thank you for both of you, all your support and your excellent support, Mike. And
Thank you.
stay safe and stay well, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Barry.
calling. The Liberty Bell, as was just brought up, George Warren actually brought the issue up to the legislature. Myself and Representative Meridian have filed legislation for it. I'll have to find out where the legislation is, but the initiative is moving forward with or without the legislation. Right now, the Senate, the legislature has appropriated significant amounts of revenues to renovate the Senate and the House. If you went and, I mean, some of these rooms are so old.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
To preserve it, to preserve these rooms, it's going to take a lot of money.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they have to keep them historically correct.
Well, yeah, historically, and when you're sitting there, I mean, as I said to a class today, these are living museums.
Right.
You're walking around through this building. You've got artifacts that are 200 years old, 150
Oh, I
years
know.
old. So, and even in the rooms, you're sitting there, and you can see on the wall where water is running down. So, if we're going to preserve this,
Yeah.
we really have to make some investment into this. And the problem is, where the design of the building, the infrastructure is so low, it's going to cost a bit more money. Well, anyways, as part of the renovations, this project has been included in that, where they're going to move the Liberty Bell from its current location. If you see behind us, the State House that's depicted there. If you went down to the first floor, you'll look with the columns right now to the floor below that. The Liberty Bell is actually out in that area. So we're going to try to bring the Liberty Bell back in and have it more visible, so that when the people are doing tours, that they're going to be able to see the Liberty Bell. So, and that's all, and George Warren, Mr. Warren, deserves all the credit in that. That's really been an initiative
been the
that he's brought.
spearhead.
Yes, he brought this initiative forward. So,
Yep.
he's really made a difference in
He's
this.
watching right now, so you've given him a good update.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you again, Mr. Warren. We had a nice ceremony at the State House when we had the hearing for the bill. George came in with some of his family. They helped us testify for the legislation. So, and I will get an update on where the legislation stands right now.
Yeah. So, things are moving.
Yeah.
It just, as we say, the renovation takes a long time. It's a lot of work,
And where it's part of a grander or a bigger renovation plan.
Yes.
I think the last when George came in, we were told it was going to be about a year. So, and it's been several months now. So hopefully by the end of, if we're here next April or June, hopefully it's already done.
yeah. So, I mean, and if he hadn't brought it up, it would have never happened.
No.
It would have stayed right where it is.
I didn't even know the Liberty Bell was there.
Exactly.
I think most of us didn't know.
No, I never knew about it.
Yeah.
And I've been to the State House a number of times. In fact, if you're ever into Boston, it's well worth taking the tour.
Yeah.
It's-
We work with the Secretary of State's office, which is Secretary Galvin. They employ the tour guides, and actually most of the tour guides are volunteers.
Yep.
And if you give us enough notice, we can help schedule the tour. We can arrange it for you. Sometimes, depending on how many people are coming in, we can help you with parking. But it's a free tour, and I've gone on several tours with different tour guides, and every time I go on a tour, there's a different piece of history that
Yep.
someone tells you about that the other tour guide didn't mention. And it's amazing some of the things you walk by that you just take for granted.
Yeah, you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Well, like the Hall of Flags, I mean, it's a great collection in there. These are flags that go back in history.
Yeah.
The actual flags.
Yeah.
Used by units in the Civil War, even prior to that.
If you've got the Nurses Memorial that's in there, you've got
Yes.
the Nurses Hall, then you've got the Great Hall, and the Great Hall has
Yes.
hanging from the sides and from the ceiling every town flag that's in Massachusetts. So it's nice.
And you got the codfish.
Yes. Well, the house has the codfish. We have. This is where we've heard a couple of stories. We have the mackerel, and then someone else has said it's the cod. That's the same thing. But so we've always been told it's the mackerel. You get the saying the holy mackerel. So at one point, the current location of the Senate, well, not the current, the one that's being renovated, we're actually using temporary space right now, but the area that the Senate that's being renovated was the House of Representatives. At that point, all 700 representatives used to fit in this. If you saw this room, you'd be amazed.
I have. It's not that
Yeah.
big.
No, that's when you'd be amazed that they could fit in there. So, at that point, hanging from the ceiling, the chandelier, was the
mackerel.
the
codfish.
the codfish. When they built the annex and moved, the house went to their current location, they took the codfish with them.
Oh,
So now, so obviously the House is not going to outdo the Senate. So the Senate then, when they took the codfish, they put what we were told was the mackerel, and so now that hangs above the Senate chambers.
of course, all goes back to we started out as a fishing state.
Yes,
and
yeah. Well, that was actually the question that the group asked when we were explaining that to them. That was the main industry back then. We were
Yeah.
fishing industry. You know.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was talking with with Ranger Chuck Arness,
Yes.
and we're talking about how when the state didn't want to fund the Blackstone Canal, Rhode Island funded it up to the Mass border, but the legislature didn't want to fund it into Worcester because they were concerned that Worcester would end up being the bigger city, and Boston would just be a little fishing community because they would get all the trade going up and down the canal.
Well, and that was the main trade route
Yeah,
at that point. Yeah. Yeah.
but then they finally did fund it, but it never made it. But Boston still grew pretty darn good.
Oh, Boston! You know something? Boston's still growing.
Yeah,
It's amazing to see it keeps growing, and the buildings getting higher. You know,
and
there's-
Amazon may come in now.
is that the word now?
Well, they said there was 2 cities left. One is the D.C. area,
Okay.
and the other is Boston
Oh, good. That's great.
for their new headquarters. Not a call.
Oh.
You're a popular guy here. I don't
I
get
don't,
this
I don't
many
know if
calls.
it's me or you.
No, I don't get this many calls usually. Go ahead, Carl. You're on.
Hello. My name is George Warren. I live in Northbridge.
George.
Is there any chance I could talk to the senator?
Yes.
Did you? Are you watching?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you saw what he said.
Yes, he mentioned a few things about the bill, where it's going to be going.
Yep. And it's all really due to your efforts. So thank you.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to thank you for being on the show, and it's a good way of sending out the word about the Liberty Bell, because I've been working on this, and a lot of people will usually say to me they didn't even know that we have one,
Yeah.
a Massachusetts Liberty Bell, that was given to us back in 1950
Yep.
as a gift.
From
Yeah.
Harry Truman.
And then it came here to our state house, and there was other bells delivered to other state houses, other states. But it came to Boston, and Governor DeVere, he accepted it, and they moved it into Derrick Hall. That was in 1950.
Yep.
And like in the latter part of the 50s, they moved it out of Derrick Hall, and that's where they put it out on the steps.
Yeah.
So now, as it comes along, it seems like it's going to be going back into Derrick Hall again.
Yeah. The Division of Capital Assets and Management, who helps work with any state building, we've been dealing with them, and they've agreed. They're going to move the bell back in the building, so more people will have access to viewing it, and hopefully, when that's complete, we can have a ceremony. We can invite you up, and actually,
Yeah, they're supposed to kind of spruce up the bell and fix it up and all
Yes.
that. And
Yep.
I've been, as you know, we've been talking with the building superintendent, also the curator,
Yep.
and there's all kinds of dates around that they're moving. They're going to be doing something right now to move it to a off-site location.
Okay.
But the only thing is it hasn't happened. You know, it's still in the same place.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things I don't understand what's going on there, but I'm hoping that maybe you can keep after them that'd be really helpful because it's. But anyways, I thank you and David the Meridian, and there's so many people that are involved with this, other senators, other representatives, and it's just incredible, and that we've gotten this far, you know.
Yeah.
But it has been quite a long haul for me, 3 years working on this thing, and so I learned a lot of things about the bill, and that right now it's in the Ways and Means Committee. And I'm hoping that we can get it out of the Ways and Means Committee so to come bring it up for vote.
Is it in the House, correct? Is it House?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is that, see, this is a House bill.
Yep.
And if it's passed in the House, and then it goes to the Senate.
Yes, it goes to the Senate. We'll go to Senate Ways and Means because the reason it goes to Ways and Means is that there's a dollar figure attached to it. Anything that has a financial impact has to go through Ways and Means. So once the House does it, it would go to the Senate. Then we have to vote on it. Once it clears both branches, then it goes to the governor.
Yeah, and all that. I hope that they will concur with what the House votes on it, and that'd be really nice to speed up things.
Yeah, no, will.
Another thing too that on doing a lot of restoration of the State House, what they're talking about was $300 million, and I know that they can toss this figure around, but it's going to take a long time before they really start working on the State House, because it does need a lot of work bringing it up to date, you know.
Well, the Senate right now, the Senate gallery and floor that we operate out of has been under renovation since, I think, January.
Oh.
So we're actually operating in what was called the Garden Auditorium. They went in, they had to renovate that so we could operate out of there, because that was just basically an old auditorium that they had hearings in. So we've been operating out of that. My understanding is this January, the Senate should be back up and operating out of the Senate.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I know that I run into this. We have in the bill, it was supposed to be, the money was already supposed to be appropriated for just the bill, and we have a phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was supposed to have been at one time going to be going out to Ashburton Park, but then they ran into a problem out there with the underground, under the granite.
Okay.
Where the bell was going to go. And by the time they get finished with things, would be like into 2020, you know. But I like to emphasize the fact that
I thought it was quicker. I thought the bell's going inside, isn't it, George?
Yeah, well, I had hoped that it probably would be better to go inside at this point. But I think that they were talking about Ashburton Park, but maybe you can straighten that out with the other senators and find out what's going on.
We'll look into that.
At that point.
Because we were also being told that the work on the bill was supposed to be completed, I thought it was next year.
Yeah, they haven't done anything with the bill yet. It's still there.
Okay.
And that's, it's kind of like, I don't know what to make of that. But let me see, the bill has been there for 17 years out where, right in back of you, when you look, the picture in the back is up on the steps, and nobody can see it. You know, it's in an obscure place. It's only because of 9/11 in 2001. They closed the door and the gates. It's only because of that. And I wasn't for cutting back. I mean, I don't want to, cut back on security and the building. I wouldn't want to see that. But I think that the best thing probably would be maybe to do is move back into Derrick Hall.
Well,
that might be the thing.
The senator's going to check. The senator will check on it, George.
Yeah, we'll try to find out if they've made any adjustments to the plans.
Okay. And anyways, I want to thank you for being on the program.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure.
And
Thank you.
I do sincerely hope that the state senators and state representatives will consider the bill, and that. So the main thing is I'm always concerned about that the bill will not be lost in time and history.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was really mainly after. And and so I just hope that they do it soon.
It looks like there's a lot of awareness of it on the Hill, Judge.
Okay.
And as
All
you as you stated, there's so much work going on. It was my understanding it was all built into the work that they were doing over into the Senate. So I'll double check on that.
Yeah, we're because it's constantly. I'm always calling around and saying, when are they going to be doing this? You know,
Yeah.
moving the bell, and I get it's still there.
Well, you may get a surprise real soon.
Well, that'd be okay with me. It'd be all right. Surprises are good.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No,
for being
thank
on
you,
the program.
George. Thank you for
Okay.
bringing this whole issue up.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to say it's funny, but that so many people didn't even know the Liberty Bell was there.
I know, well, because where it wasn't spotted. And no one thought anything of it.
Yeah.
I want to get into, there's a bill in the Senate now about school loans, student loans.
Oh, is this the one to student rights?
Student rights.
Yes. Yeah. It's well, there's two bills. There was two bills that was done. One protects the privacy of students. That's one that we think we did 3 weeks ago. So that now anyone doing a FOIA, well, actually it hasn't gone through the House yet. So it's got to be signed. It still has to go through the House and get signed by the governor. Anyone that was trying to do a FOIA at any public school, this bill would stop them from getting all the personal information that could be used to, I don't want to say harass, but target students for marketing campaigns,
Yep.
different financial proposals. So it's going to protect their privacy.
Good move.
Yes.
We'll take this
Yep.
call. We're getting a lot of calls tonight. I can't get into what I got, but we want to let people have their share.
Yep.
Go ahead, you're on.
How you doing, Harry?
Hey, okay, Tom.
I got a couple of questions.
Sure.
It's about the justice system.
Yep.
I'd like to know how a guy with over 100 arrests is out, and he ended up shooting that policeman in Ayaman. And the other question is, how did they let a rapist go back to his own country?
Okay. I'm
I'm
familiar with these.
I'm familiar
Somebody
with.
should have some answers about why our justice system is doing what it's doing.
Well, as you know, we have a separation of powers, so we cannot regulate
That's handled by the Justice Department.
the judiciary handles
Yeah,
that.
the
So
state
we
judiciary.
have no authority over the judiciary as far as the sentences the judges administer. I do have some concerns like you do. This is the third or fourth police officer that we've had that's resulted in a fatality or a death based on someone who's been out of our correctional system.
Well, I think the question is, we've had Hartley Fox since the 70s.
Yep.
Guy has over 100 violations. How was he having a gun? I don't know if he had the gun legally.
Oh, I'd be willing. No, I'd be willing to bet that he didn't have the gun legally.
Right.
But
So,
still, the issue
what can be done about it?
The issue still goes to the judiciary in the decision the
Right.
judges make. Well, there's one proposal that myself and Representative Frost are going to be looking at. The chief from the town of Auburn has approached us about trying to maybe do away with the life tenure of the judges, where
That would be a good idea.
so maybe every few years their
have to get
appointment
reappointed?
they have to get reappointed, and they can be evaluated on the decisions that they've made. So that's one thing. That's one thing that this chief has brought to our attention as a possible proposal.
Clarify that too, Carla. Judges don't get they get
Appointed for
nominated
life.
by the governor, but appointed by the governor's
Well-
council.
Yeah, I know all that. I know it's like
so-
they get appointed, they don't get elected.
Right.
I realize that, but don't they see what they're doing? That clock should have never lost his life. Never.
I agree.
And that's what bothers me.
Well, here again, if he had the gun illegally, the judiciary wasn't nothing they could do about it, other than the fact that with that many violations, the wonder this guy was out in the street.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Well,
I don't know the circumstances there. On the other one, I don't think the senator is familiar with the situation.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the rape.
A woman was accused this man of rape. He was brought into court, and they told him he had 24 hours to he was an immigrant from Ghana. He had 24 hours to turn in his passport. Well, instead of turning his passport, he used it and went back to Ghana. So now the policy from the judiciary is going to be that you got to turn it in immediately, which what they should have done in the first place.
Yeah. Was this a state court
Yeah,
that did
yeah,
this?
yeah. It happened in the Boston area. I think it might have been in Boston.
Okay. I'll have to look. I'll have to look into that. This is the first I'm hearing. Maybe
It hasn't got a lot of play.
This.
It hasn't got a lot of play.
All right.
But
With that bill you're proposing about term limits or whatever, what would you have to do? Would it have to go through the House and the Senate?
Well, that's one thing I have to. That's honestly, the chief just brought this up to myself and Representative Frost, so we have to sit down with him. That's something I got to look at. I don't know.
I think that would require a constitutional
that's the thing I'm wondering.
change.
If it's a constitutional change, the process it's roughly about a 6-year process. You've got to go to. The bill has to be filed at a constitutional convention, which we have every legislative year. It has to pass 2 consecutive constitutional conventions, and then if it passes, then it's got to go to the voters. Then the voters have to pass it.
It's got to go on the ballot.
Well, I wish you luck with it. I hope you can get that through. I hope it works.
Well, thank you. Well, look, until I research it, again, he just brought this up, so
right. I'm pretty sure that's accurate because it states in the Constitution how the judges are appointed and how they are voted on by the Governor's Council.
Right.
Which actually goes back to colonial times.
Well, see, the approval by the Governor's Council and the way that the governor recommends someone to be a judge can be changed. So I know they changed because Mitt Romney changed it when he was governor.
Right.
And the Governor's Council does the final recommendation or nomination appointment. Right. But I don't know if the lifetime appointment.
Well, I know
is
that
in
the legislature did put in a mandatory retirement.
Okay.
Because there is a mandatory retirement for judges. I think it's 70.
Probably.
That they're required to retire, whereas federal judges are for life.
Well, state judges are also too for life, but
with no mandatory retirement.
Okay.
Federal judges, like you see, the Supreme Court, they can sit on there till they drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
so I'm
the answer, and I still wish there was something.
So Tom, I'm going to look into that, and hopefully we'll be able to do something. But if it's a constitutional convention, that the constitutional change, the whole process is a lot more time.
It's a lot lengthier.
We got to figure out how we go about doing it.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Okay. Yep.
You know, you have to have a lengthy process for constitutional changes. You're changing the state constitution.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is a question there. I don't know if you have to do it for that because there have been other changes that were made without, like Mitt Romney did.
Right. Well, again, that was the process on how you nominate them.
Right. So I don't know what
the tenure of the justice.
Yeah.
That may be listed in the Constitution. We'll have to look at that. And then, in all honesty, then there's the pro and con on this. And this is what we got to look at. Some states that have the judges that are elected.
Right.
Now you could argue, well, now they're more susceptible to the political process and pressures, rather than someone who's appointed for life is going to make the decision.
But it doesn't mean you get a great judge if they're elected either.
That's right. You can get a judge that's elected that's not even a lawyer.
Exactly, because there's nothing that says they have to be an attorney.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard to say which way is the best way to go.
It is.
I mean, the federal government, the founders felt it was best to have it done through the Senate and the president, and then appointed for life, so that they weren't subjected to any political pressure.
Right.
If they're elected, well, they're 100% subjected to political pressure.
Yeah. And again, that Massachusetts follow that same
Right.
philosophy. So, and again, I don't know the support that we would have.
And here again, the judges rule by what the laws are too.
Yeah, but they have some discretion.
Oh, yeah.
They have some discretion. I mean, if you saw the news clip of, is it Judge Mandel, Anthony Mandel? And they were talking, right in the news clip, it has him weighing the fact that the $500 bail, I think he made a statement that, you know, is this really gonna work or sink in, you know, we've been here before. But
Right.
in the end, he let it go. But you made a valid point too, about the illegal firearm.
Yeah.
There's another issue that, when we did the criminal justice reform, I've had filed for the last 4 years or 6 years, and that's been trying to give our law enforcement greater use of what's called the wiretapping law. Right now, law enforcement can only do a wiretap if it's RICO, which is organized crime related.
Right.
So,
They still have to go to a judge, don't they?
well, right, they have to get a judge, has to approve it. But if you're selling, if I'm calling you to sell you illegal firearms, that doesn't qualify as a RICO violation.
Right.
So they can't even go to a judge to try to get authorization for a wiretap. And it's the same thing for narcotics. They've got to show, because in Massachusetts you need two-party consent. So they've got to show that it's an organized crime-related activity.
Right, so it comes under RICO.
Right. So the changes that I've looked at, that I've been working with the Attorney General's office on, the Baker administration has been supportive of this. They filed a version, is to broaden the scope so that some of these crimes, like the illegal trafficking of firearms, so this could be part of something that they could seek to get a warrant, a wiretapping warrant on.
Well, we know, I mean, Hartley Fox has been around since the 70s.
Yep.
But what the prosecutors do is they use it to bargain down.
Yeah.
And, you know, to get them to get a conviction on another violation.
Right. Well, and this is the problem too, is that, you know, you have right now our prisons, houses of correction and state prisons, DOC facilities, they're overcrowded.
Right.
They're not as overcrowded as they were 10 years ago, but they're overcrowded now. So the use of, and that's why a lot of, in the criminal justice reform that was just passed by the Senate and I think the House, they did a version too, but it's a little different from the Senate version. So it's in conference committee. You know, tries to give the judiciary, and this goes against directly what happened. Tries to give the judiciary a little bit more authority as far as determining what the sentence should be.
Right.
But
I mean, we got a problem. You know, we have a big drug problem, and that leads to overcrowding in the prisons. If you're going to prosecute people, you're going to send them to jail for drug dealing. Well, you have to have a place to put them.
right. Well, you know, this is, I think the fact that the opiate crisis has really elevated the conversation on drugs, and I guess the passage of the recreational marijuana. If you're a user and you're addicted to it, does the jail sentence really?
It doesn't change anything.
That's right. It doesn't address the root cause.
Right.
Personally, to me, I would much rather see the dealer, the person who's making money off of your
Right.
illness or sickness, that be the person that gets,
Unfortunately, the guy at the bottom of the run,
is the one who gets.
the dealer,
Yeah.
the dealer at the bottom is usually a user too.
But when you get to the higher level,
That's the ones you really got to nail.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not even users.
that's what I'm saying. The person who's not using the drug,
Right.
the person who's making
And those
the
are the hard
sale-
ones to catch.
Right, yeah, because they use the smaller, the person down in the
Right.
in the rung in the ladder.
Yeah, who's a user, and you send them to jail, but you don't cure them, you don't help them, you don't do anything for them, and a lot of times they're a user because they got other problems.
Well, it's most of the, if you went to our, and I can tell you jails, I was working at the sheriff's office. I never knew this until I started working there. If you went to through the medical records, I think the figure was 60-70%, might even be a little higher, of the individuals who are incarcerated with a substance abuse issue, that it's a dual diagnosis, which means they've got a substance abuse issue and a mental health issue.
Right.
And there's self-medication. The drug is being used to help, they're using that to self-medicate their issue.
Exactly.
So it's really trying to address both.
Yeah. I mean, I think the medical industry is part of the problem.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It was the easy way of getting out. Look at how many kids have were diagnosed with having behavioral problems. We'll put them on what is it, Ritalin?
Oh, yeah, Ritalin, and what else do they use today for ADD? There's something else.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and so you're telling the kid, here's the way to go. You got a problem? Here, take a pill.
Well, and actually, I even wonder too, if you think years ago when we were growing up, if you had
Yep.
this excess energy, what did your parents tell you to do?
Go out and burn it off.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
today, they don't have that advantage. They're in front of the computer doing
I
the
know.
things. I mean, today, this thing, same thing. Your parents were like, get out of the house, don't come back until the lights come on.
Right.
And you burnt off all that energy.
Yeah.
And today, you don't have that. The kids don't have that luxury.
I know it. Well, I think they've made it that way too. I mean, we got to, but that's not, parenting is not something the state can do. We need people who are in that on their own.
Yeah.
But well, anyway, yeah, we were talking about what else on the student
Oh, the student privacy.
privacy? Yeah.
Then there's also a bill that dealing with the student loans that actually grants protections for students before they're actually getting the loan. So this is the financial institution has to provide information to the student to make them more aware of what the student or the family are getting, contractually binding themselves to.
When you come down to it, the cost of higher education today, even with the state schools, is so high now that student loan could be the second highest bill that they're going to owe all their lives.
Yeah, that student loan can stay with them for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next to buying a house, it's the biggest loan they're going to have.
I think the only reason that I'm even as familiar, well, I don't think I know, the only reason I'm familiar with some of these issues now with student loans is because I've had the opportunity to chair the committee for 6 years, or eight years actually, and to see some of the choices, or to hear some of the justifications some of the parents and students have come in with on why they chose the schools. A lot of students are just picking the career path, the profession they want,
Yep.
the school. They're not looking at the ROI, the return on investment. So they're picking these very expensive colleges and universities that there's no way on the salary that they're going to be getting that they're going to be able to pay these off in the short term.
Right.
So there's got to be better choices made by the student, by the parent. And I'm in this situation. My daughter's a junior right now. She's just starting to look at schools. So, and I'm trying to,
Trying to get her.
well, I'm trying to get her to educate.
Yep.
There's programs where you can do what's called articulation agreements, and this is what parents should be looking at, where you can go to, say, a community college or a state school for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Then you transfer over. If you want to go to a more expensive elite school, you can transfer over to.
And you take your credits with you,
and you take your credits with
so
you.
you don't have to take spend as much.
Yeah, and actually, this is something we're trying to rectify right now. And I've been working on it for 4 years. Not every school, public school, accepts credits from other public schools.
Uh-huh.
So I've gotten it through the Senate twice, but just with the bill pending, the Department of Higher Education has actually been able to negotiate with various schools an across-the-board articulation agreements where schools will accept in certain career fields, will accept their credits. Another thing we're working at too right now is Massachusetts. We're known across the country to be an education state.
Oh yeah, we probably have more colleges than any other state.
We've got about
per
100,
capita.
130 colleges and universities. 29 are public, and it's actually reverse here. Most states, the public is the predominant system.
Right.
Here, where the predominant system here is the private schools.
Yeah.
But in the area that other states are ahead of us on is what's called early college high schools, and that's bringing college courses into the high schools, allowing the students to take those.
Well, we're doing that now.
Well, we've got AP classes.
Yeah.
But this is actually bringing and letting the students go to the colleges. So we're doing it on a very limited basis.
Oh, so they will actually go to the college itself.
They can do both. Go to the college itself, take the classes, or they'll train teachers in the high school where they can teach the college classes.
Oh,
I worked with the administration, with Baker administration. We filed the legislation a year and a half ago. They actually made it part of the budget. It's a $3 million allocation, so this would cover the costs of bringing some of these programs into the high school. So hopefully, I've already met with Ways and Means, feeling good that we might be able to get this part of the Senate budget. So then we'll just have to negotiate it between the House and Senate as part of the conference.
I had Dr. Stickney on last week from Northbridge.
Yep.
And she was saying that something about that we already have something where they can get credit. She's got
Well,
together
it's
a
the
program.
advanced placement, and this is something that
Right, the advanced placement.
the AP classes, and this is something that we're trying to correct in this legislation too. Is not the student takes the class, they have to pay for it. I think if I remember, it's depending on the school you can get in your income, the family income, you can get assistance with that.
Oh, okay.
But not every school gives the students credits. You have to take the exam, and based on your score, you can get a 2, 3, 4, or 5. And based on your score, you can get credits from the colleges, from certain colleges. Not every college will grant credits. The legislation I have makes it mandatory that the schools have to give credit, and it has to be transparency, so that when you're taking the exam, and you know if you're going to be applying at a certain school based on your score, you know they will give you credit for that.
And this could save you a lot of money in the end.
Oh, good. I went to a program, but the year before I filed the bill, I went to South High. The current superintendent of the Worcester schools, Maureen Bedenda, they were doing a ceremony for recognizing all the students who had achieved this. One student had taken 10 AP classes.
Wow.
So that's 30 credits. That's half.
Yeah,
That's one semester of school,
yeah,
or 1 year of school.
yeah. So that's saving them a
Yeah.
whole year of school.
Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is one area that
Pretty
Massachusetts.
sharp kid.
Yeah, and this is one area that Massachusetts has been a little behind in other states. We just had some test results come out, and again, Massachusetts was number one. If you take us internationally, I think we score highest in the obviously United States, but internationally, I think we're in the top 10. But if you evaluated us as a state, as a country, but then if you integrate the score with the whole country, I think we're close to the United States is in the 20s now, low 20s. So we've dropped from where we were internationally, from being the best to, in the top 20 in the world.
Right, and we need a more diversified education system too. We can't just put out liberal arts students.
No.
Of course, are you familiar with what's going on with the chamber and Jeannie Hebert down there? She's putting together.
Yeah, actually, I've been working with Jeannie on that, going back to when Senator Moore was in office.
Yeah.
The other Senator Moore.
Right.
We got $300,000
Yeah.
to work with Quinn Sig to bring the program in. Then Senator Fatman came in, and Rep Meridian came in, and we were able to get another 300, and then we just got another, I think it was $400,000. We helped with the grant to get that
Yeah.
program all up and running.
That's a great program she's put. She's done a great job with that.
I tell you, as far as the chamber goes, I deal with 3 or 4 chambers. She's one of the best.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, she really is. She does a great job. The
Yep.
community's got a real value for having her
Oh, tell you,
Yeah.
really, she's looking to retire one of these days, and I said, no, you can't. We need
there.
you.
No, that's
She'd be hard to replace her.
Yeah, no. I tell you, she does an excellent job.
But that program she put together there is going to allow them to learn manufacturing planning.
Yep.
And these are kids, Valley Tech, and you see they just got an award.
Yeah.
But Valley Tech's an outstanding school, but not every kid can get in there.
Between, I have in my Senate district, Assabet Valley, Valley Tech, Bay Path, and Worcester Voc. And between those 4 schools, there's between 1,500 and 2,000 students on the waiting list.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, actually, Rep Meridian and Rep Meridian, myself, and Senator Fatman, we just did a capital bond bill, and actually, I should say Senator Fatman and I, because the bond bill has not gone through the House yet. So we're putting a lot of pressure on Rep Meridian right now. We were able to get $4 million for the Blackstone Valley Folk School for them to do that expansion that they tried to do several years ago.
Yes.
So now we just need Rep Meridian to get that through the House, and then if we can get that through there, then we just gotta put the pressure on the governor. But that would take the burden off the school district to fund the construction of that.
Oh, that'll allow more students
That would allow more students.
and
Yeah.
some great programs.
Yes, yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with the what's going on in Whitensville with the old hospital,
The,
the medical center on Granite Street in Whitensville.
yes, actually, we were actually looking at that building initially for the program for Jeannie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been purchased by a name escapes me now. He owns a veterinary center down here on 122,
Oh,
and
you know, I think someone did, I think Jeannie did tell me about that.
well, he's going to put a veterinary hospital in there,
Okay,
which will be equal to what you got at Tufts.
really?
Oh yeah. Plus, he's going to do kenneling
Okay,
because it's a big need. There's not enough kennel space around here, and well, anyway, he's working with Valley Tech for a veterinary program to go there.
oh, that's great.
So I mean, these are the great things that are happening. And Jeannie's been instrumental in a lot of this.
And she has, but this is really how we're gonna be successful. And goes to the model Jeannie has helped working with. It's tying our business community in with our education
Yeah.
system, so that the students are getting access to these programs, whether they're internships or whether the business community is allowing them to come in or bringing their programs into the schools. So students are getting hands-on experience.
Yeah, and the business community will get some employees. They're desperate to find people that have some kind of education
Yeah.
in what they're looking for.
Yeah, no, and that was the goal when Jeannie was first talking about this, because manufacturing in Massachusetts and in the country, people don't realize it, but it's been increasing.
Yes.
And the advanced manufacturing, we kept hearing that that we're losing jobs overseas, but the numbers of advanced manufacturers has been going up. The problem they've had, and this goes back over the last 7 or 8 years, is getting the workforce. There hasn't been a skilled workforce. So that's where Jeannie came in with this concept of, let's get all the manufacturers together with the school.
Well, the difference is, manufacturing 50 years ago, I don't know if you were familiar with press wheel, where they assembled lawn chairs. Well, that's gone.
Yes.
That's overseas.
Yep.
What we got for manufacturing now is a lot more involved. You have to have a lot of training. There's a lot more to it. It's not
And
just
it's not the
assembly
sweat
work.
shops. It's not these
No,
shops you're going in there.
it's quite involved, and
Yeah.
it takes machinists, and it takes planners, and it takes people, computer operators.
Well, and when people are hired, they're coming on the job making $50,000-$60,000, getting their health care. So it's not the shop that you're going into where it's the sweatshop and you're being exposed to all sorts of hazardous things. So there's a lot of opportunity here. The problem that we've been having, and the industry has, is getting it out to the public, making parents and students realize that these jobs are out there.
We gotta close out. We got a phone call. I don't know. No, I don't have a phone call. We gotta close it out. It's already 8 o'clock.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Right.
So we'll have to get
have
this
back in.
scheduled again?
Yeah, we'll get you scheduled again. We're getting closer to the summer months. We could probably do something then.
Yeah, once we after July, actually in June, it might break open a little bit also. The problem we have is Thursdays we usually have formal session, so I can never guarantee whether I'll be here or not. So, but I know right after we do the budget in May, the first couple weeks in June, I should have some free time
All
if
right.
you want to do it.
Good enough. Thanks for
Great.
coming in.
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me.